In the end, everyone fell into Li Yuanqing's big pocket. Li Yuanqing tied up the cloth bag and put it away. He casually hung it on his waist and collected all these guys just like that. This operation really stunned everyone. In the blink of an eye, the place that was in a mess a moment ago instantly quieted down. Those troublemakers had all disappeared. All of them fell into Li Yuanqing's big pocket. The effect of this medicine was actually so obvious. It could make them so crazy and make their sense of smell so much sharper than before. This was too amazing. However, he did not know if this thing could be used in other aspects. If it could be used to refine some unique medicine, it seemed to be of some use. Right at that moment, in C-City Base, the team leader who had been seriously infected was waving his arms and commanding many people to flood out of C-City Base. Their goal this time was precisely the place where they had found the treasure. It was there that they definitely wanted, that incomparably perfect treasure. The squad leader kept urging them and had become a rather famous leader. However, he did not know that the people below had actually lost their will and were still under his control. It was really very strange. When this group of people had all dispersed, the crazed look in the captain's eyes suddenly disappeared and was replaced with a bright expression. He silently looked to the side for a while before sneaking to the side and coming to a shadow. The captain's body suddenly twisted violently. This twisting feeling was very frightening, as if some kind of monster was about to crawl out from inside. In the blink of an eye, a layer of human skin was peeled off, and a puddle of black material that looked like mud came out. This black material fell to the ground in an instant, as if it had fused with the bricks below and disappeared. There was only this strange piece of human skin left here. There was nothing else. Meanwhile, in the north of Haiqing, the demon army was marching towards them in a mighty manner. They had a majestic aura and seemed to be filled with unparalleled confidence. They were unstoppable. They cut through all the obstacles and crossed the fortress that had been blown up into an empty shell. Without any obstacles, they arrived at the front line of C-City Base. However, they didn't rush into the fortress. Instead, they settled down quietly. The leader of the group was wearing a python robe. If one looked closely, there were even fine black scales on his exposed skin. General Changming, the people in C-City are already in disarray. They're holding the fort and not coming out. The entire formation has been activated, which is completely within your expectations. The general's aura was majestic, and his eyes were sharp. He was an 8th-level array formation realm expert. His energy was thick. Compared to the previous two teams, the demons were clearly more prepared this time. Moreover, they had the will to win, as if they were going to take it down no matter what. Seemingly thinking that they had won, the monster clan didn't rush to attack. After they settled down in the north of C-City, they sent people to challenge the enemy and secretly observe the situation inside. Even with the protection of the defensive magic formation, the chaotic situation in C-City Base was still visible to everyone. These soldiers had lost all fighting spirit. Although they were forced to come to the city wall, they could not do anything. Human, even though you have done many bad things, my mother is kind-hearted. If you surrender obediently, my mother will spare your lives. However, if you insist on resisting, I will kill you all. The deep voice of the monster in front of them pierced through the protective shield and fell into the ears of everyone in C-City Base. These people were still hammering the defensive magic formation. The golden shield had become an obstacle for them to leave C-City. They wanted to leave this place, fight their way out, and find the beautiful hemp vine flower. How could they understand when they heard this voice? They could also feel the powerful pressure from the flood dragon race in their hearts. They also knew that if they fell into their hands, they would definitely die. However, they could not wake up. That strange desire drove them to forget everything else. The pain seemed to make death not scary at all. In their eyes, death had long become an insignificant matter. So what if he died? So what if the demon race occupied C-City? Perhaps there was only one purpose for people to live in this world, and that was to let themselves obtain sufficient happiness. Although some people could barely resist and wanted to pick up their weapons to resist, they could not resist the temptation of desire. The front line was defenseless, and the human beings were desperately trying to escape. The entire C-City Base was in a mess. In a spacious hall deep underground Sea City base, the man-eating vine's face was pale, and its eyes were tightly shut. It sat in the middle of the hall. Li Yuanqing suddenly appeared in front of the man-eating vine. He slowly placed his hand on the back of the man-eating vine, took out a divine origin pill, and stuffed it into the mouth of the man-eating vine. "Xiao Man, are you all right?" Just now, Li Yuanqing had sensed that Lil Man was under great pressure. He had immediately rushed over. Fortunately, he had arrived in time. Lil Man always liked to shoulder everything on her own. This was not a good habit. "Master, don't worry about me. I'm fine. The demon race is coming at you menacingly this time. Moreover, the appearance of this mystic realm is really too strange. I'm afraid it can't be separated from the demon race. From the looks of it, it's hard to guarantee that they won't have any other methods behind them. You have to be careful. Don't be ambushed by them during the chaos." "Don't worry, Master. I'll take good care of myself." What made Li Yuanqing depressed was that ever since his last victory, he could no longer contact that tiny blood vine. It seemed that the small seed of the blood vine had been discovered by someone. Without the line of sight from the demon cave, Li Yuanqing could not estimate what they were going to do next. After all, the monster race had the upper hand. If they were allowed to use their skills without any restraint, Sea City Base alone would not be able to resist them. Fortunately, the demons were not in a hurry to attack with such a powerful advantage. This was very good news. "Master, we are currently facing internal and external problems. One do not have the time to develop the antidote. If we delay any longer, I am afraid that it's okay. Sea City Base will definitely be able to hold on. But Master, if they want to leave, why don't you just let them go? Isn't it the best choice? You mean to let them go out and die like this?" "No," the man-eating vine stammered. "Anyway, they don't want to live here, and they have to dismantle the protective shield. If we let them continue to mess around like that, the protective shield might not be able to hold on for long. I just want Master to make a decision as soon as possible." Just as Lil Man was speaking, her body suddenly trembled as if she was affected by something. Lil Man stretched out her arms and countless vines extended from her back, trying to stabilize her control. However, such resistance was useless. The connection between her and the city protection array was gradually weakening. There seemed to be a thick wall separating the two sides, but now, this wall had been dug through by their own people. The defensive shield that was originally impregnable outside suddenly flickered and shook. Li Yuanqing flew to the center of Sea City and looked down. He saw countless black gases rising from the ground below. These black gases were entangled with each other. When they were only small individuals, they were not dangerous. However, when they gathered together, they kept weaving together, like a huge net that slowly rose up. Because those humans could not get what they wanted, the resentment in their bodies continued to gather. Their resentment was being used by someone, and the power they generated was gathered into a huge net, which seemed to cover the sky and the entire Sea City Base. The four corners of the net had been firmly set up in the four corners of Sea City Base, and they were no longer obstructed. After the net stabilized, it became even more rampant. It did not put Li Yuanqing and the man-eating vines in its eyes at all. It kept expanding and baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, as if it was showing off its powerful strength. If he continued to expand like this, he would become an internal network and replace the original city protection array outside. They wanted to use this method to directly crack the human race's city-protecting array formation. In this way, the array formation that the human race was proud of would be useless at all. It would become a complete decoration, giving them the opportunity to do whatever they wanted. As long as their plan succeeded, the hundreds of thousands of human beings in Sea City Base would become lambs waiting to be slaughtered. If they fell into their hands, they wouldn't have a good ending. What happened to young Master Li? It seems that something is wrong outside. Yi Qilua stood on the tower of the city lord's mansion, looking at Li Yuanqing, who was high and mighty. Li Yuanqing put his palms together, and a black square platform appeared behind him. The square platform was very nimble, and it seemed to give people a harmless feeling. However, it seemed to contain a powerful energy. However, the moment the platform appeared, the space around it seemed to have become distorted. Another kind of energy surrounded Li Yuanqing. Right at this moment, a long and narrow black crack suddenly appeared in front of Li Yuanqing. The crack slowly split open and turned into a door. A black shadow walked out from the door. He could not call it a person or a creature. It was just a shadow, a black lump. It seemed to occupy a place in this space, but it did not seem to exist here. As soon as the black shadow appeared, he smiled strangely. He looked at Li Yuanqing as if he was looking at an old acquaintance and even greeted Li Yuanqing very politely. "Brat, one didn't expect it to be you again." The black dragon looked at Li Yuanqing in front of him. Li Yuanqing usually hid his aura very well. It was only now that he had seen this young man again. After they had fought so many times, Li Yuanqing had ruined his good things every time. Finally, he saw him again. It seemed that there were not many surprises. Li Yuanqing frowned slightly. Looking at this guy who was hiding all day, he sneered and said, "Your disciples and grand-disciples are almost all dead. One see that you're still hiding well in your turtle shell. You don't have to come out for a lifetime." Black Dragon sneered at Li Yuanqing. "Kid, you sure have a sharp tongue and killed a few of my clones, causing me to consume so much Yuan Qi. However, this is not important. After one break your turtle shell, I'll catch you with my own hands. At that time, you'll be able to see me. Are you excited?" Li Yuanqing nodded slightly and said with some admiration, "You're much smarter than before. You're quite good at using this underhanded technique, but I think you're still a little lacking." "What?" Hei Long wanted to ask again, but he felt that his question was a little rushed and not mature enough. He snorted coldly and looked at Li Yuanqing. "You brat, you're already at this stage, yet you're still playing tricks with me. If you like to play tricks so much, you can survive in your next life and be reincarnated under me." As the black dragon spoke, it raised the hand formed by its shadows high into the air. The large black net below it also slowly expanded. He wanted to use the resentment that he had gathered to directly eliminate Li Yuanqing. From then on, he would eliminate all future troubles and kill all these guys once and for all. This was too simple. The huge black net rose very quickly. In the blink of an eye, it had already fallen to Li Yuanqing's feet. The energy released by the square platform above Li Yuanqing's head and the demonic qi did not have much of an effect on Li Yuanqing. Although it could stop some of them, it was completely unable to stop them from gradually gathering and strengthening their team. However, at this moment, Li Yuanqing removed the black platform above his head for no reason. It was as if he had given up on healing and had no intention of resisting at all. Black Dragon looked at Li Yuanqing strangely. He had fought with Li Yuanqing so many times and had a certain understanding of Li Yuanqing. This kid was not the kind of person who would give up easily, but what was he doing now? Did he not plan to resist at all? Giving up so easily? Just as the Black Dragon was puzzled, he suddenly saw a deep light shine from Li Yuanqing's head. If one looked carefully, they would find that a crack had formed on Li Yuanqing's head. This crack was actually so similar to the spatial crack he had torn when he appeared just now. However, a square platform with a very deep color drilled out from the crack. It looked no different from the previous one, but if one looked carefully, they would find that the square platform was so dark in color that it seemed to suck in one's soul. No matter what kind of light reached there, it seemed to have reached the end. What is this? The Black Dragon looked at the square platform that had reappeared in shock. It looked like Li Yuanqing had put away his square platform and summoned it again. However, his intuition told him that this was not the case at all. The square platform continued to grow bigger. The Black Dragon was shocked to find that the black net stopped moving after reaching Li Yuanqing's feet, as if it was blocked by something. It hurriedly summoned the power in its body, wanting to control the net and press it upwards. However, all of this was in vain. Speckles of light were released from Li Yuanqing's body, and they actually forcefully blocked the huge net condensed from incomparably intense resentment. Moreover, they forcefully withstood it, and there was no room for them to advance at all. The black pillar was still expanding steadily until it finally became a square platform with a diameter of several hundred feet. It looked like an altar. There was a protruding area on the altar, and on it stood a transparent baby. The baby's eyes were closed, and his two small fists were placed on his chest, as if he was asleep. The moment the black dragon saw the baby, it immediately felt that something was wrong. It finally realized that the huge net of resentment under its feet could no longer be used. There was only one thing on its mind now, and that was to escape. The black dragon turned around in a panic and fled behind him. He couldn't care less anymore. He couldn't care less about how to exterminate the human race or how to kill this little bastard in front of him. The most important thing now was to get away from that square platform. But what he didn't understand was that it was too late. The baby on the altar slowly opened his eyes. A very young smile appeared on his face. This smile was so harmless that no one would associate it with harm. The baby stretched out a tender little hand and pointed in the direction where the black dragon had left. The black dragon suddenly realized that its body had become extremely heavy and its steps had become very empty. Just a moment ago, it had been able to cross thousands of feet with one step, and now it was almost at the edge of Sea City. However, it felt as if the space under its feet had been stretched tens of thousands of times longer. No matter how it ran forward, it seemed to be in the same place. It turned its head in despair and looked at the smiling baby behind it, not knowing what to do. "Human brat, I'll let you off this time. We'll leave a line for each other. I promise to leave these 3 cities to you humans and won't cause you trouble in the future." Black Dragon shouted at Li Yuanqing anxiously. However, there was only coldness in Li Yuanqing's eyes. "Now is not the time for you to negotiate. Human brat, we can talk about anything you want." The black dragon watched as its body continued to approach the altar. It could no longer calm down. It released the power in its body in a panic, trying to resist this powerful suction force. However, it clearly felt that the power released from his body was completely absorbed by the altar. Not only did it not resist success, but it also gradually transferred the power in its own body into the body of others. And so on and so forth. The words "wait for it." At this moment, Li Yuanqing did not seem to have any intention of giving it any way out. No matter how much the black dragon shouted, Li Yuanqing's eyes remained calm as if he had not heard anything. He stubbornly and firmly pulled the black dragon towards him bit by bit. "Don't go too far. If you kill this clone of mine today, do you know what kind of consequences you will have to bear?" The black dragon was still threatening Li Yuanqing, but his threat was so weak that it had no effect on Li Yuanqing. The black net below had been completely absorbed. The sky was clear, and the shield outside had become even more solid. Some demons had already tried to attack the city, but before they could officially attack, they had already crashed into the solid shield. They originally thought that the shield would be worn down very quickly, and then they would take the opportunity to break through it. However, they did not expect it to recover so quickly, causing them to crash into the wall. The demons were dizzy as they looked at the high wall in front of them. This was completely different from what they had imagined. It was not like they had agreed that this place would be broken down in an instant, and then they could charge in and kill everyone. Why did it turn out like this? What awaited them was actually this solid barrier. General Chang Ming had thought that his soldiers would be able to keep breaking through, and was standing at the back, planning to charge in together. However, he did not expect the first wave of people to be forced back. It was really unexpected. What happened? "General, the city protection array is completely fine. We can't break through it all." "Useless thing. Lord Black Dragon has already said that he will definitely break through this array. How can he not charge in?" "But General..." Changming walked to the front of the array protecting the city. He held a trident in his hand and stabbed it heavily into the golden shield.
Bang!
The trident in his hand flickered for a moment before dimming. This perfectly fine magic tool was actually broken after such a moment. Changming's face trembled slightly. He did not expect such a mistake to happen. At this moment, in Sea City, the people who had fallen into madness were all prostrating on the ground. They could feel the divine pressure coming from the sky, and they did not dare to move at all. On the altar, the black dragon was tied up. Li Yuanqing stood at the side, and the baby stood in the center. He was holding the rope that tied the black dragon up. The black dragon's black body kept trembling as it fought crazily. He was fighting with a rope. "Brat, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you know how miserable your death will be? Hurry up and let me go. You still have a way out." Li Yuanqing shook his head helplessly. Why couldn't this guy come up with any tricks at all? After all, he only said these few words. It didn't even look like a threat. You actually want to kill me so badly and expect me to let you live. Isn't this too ridiculous? Bastard. Just as the black dragon was about to speak, green smoke suddenly rose from its body. You will definitely regret this. However, his words were no longer threatening at this moment. Li Yuanqing gently waved his hand, and the baby suddenly let out a hearty laugh. He twisted the rope in his hand and shook it a few times, dragging the black dragon around before smashing it heavily into the altar. The altar seemed to have opened a huge mouth and swallowed the black dragon in one gulp. There was no sound at all. The baby sitting on the altar opened his mouth and burped. The black dragon incarnation's confident ambush was actually completely neutralized by the altar that appeared out of thin air in Li Yuanqing's hand. He had never seen Li Yuanqing use such a weapon before. It was the first time he saw it today, and it actually had such power. It was really shocking. The people below who had been completely corroded by the poison were also shocked by this power. They only felt that deep in their hearts, they seemed to be deeply shocked by an incomparably powerful force, but they could not tell where that force came from. The square platform that had covered the sky just now disappeared like an illusion. It was as if they had a dream. When they woke up from this dream, the sky had turned into the clear blue sky again. After the crisis inside was resolved, Sea City Base's attack gradually stabilized. The monster race's attack outside had been thwarted. They wanted to find another opportunity to break through as soon as possible, because the agreed time had already passed minute by minute. If they could not break through, who could bear the blame from the higher-ups? Changming looked at Sea City Base with an ashen face. According to their agreement, Sea City Base should be in a mess now, and the array should have been destroyed. But why was it still standing? General, something doesn't seem right. This city protection array hasn't disappeared. We can't attack it all. Should we retreat first and think about it? Trash. What use are you? Changming turned his head and cursed in fury. You can't be of any use at such a critical moment. You can't even break through the combat techniques of the little human beings. After the deputy was scolded, he lowered his head and did not say a word. He did not dare to speak anymore. He just wanted to say a few words on behalf of his brothers, but who knew that the general would come up with a scolding? The group of people were as quiet as cicadas. Although the little demons below were still waving flags and shouting and launching attacks, the main attacks had already subsided. Although these people looked very fancy and were fighting very enthusiastically, they were not a threat. The situation in Sea City Base gradually stabilized, and the unfavorable situation disappeared without a trace. Changming slowly closed his eyes. A wisp of green smoke floated out of his forehead and slowly floated toward Sea City. This wisp of smoke looked very inconspicuous. It easily passed through the golden shield and floated in the sky above Sea City Base, heading toward Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing was holding a square platform in his hand. Beside him stood a child. The child had a round belly and was pacing around Li Yuanqing with a fawning expression. The green smoke stopped and turned into a slender white snake in front of Li Yuanqing. The snake stared at Li Yuanqing with its sparkling eyes. He had sensed the black dragon's location and challenged it. However, he did not expect the black dragon's aura to end here. It seemed that this was the last place the black dragon had appeared. After the little white snake understood the situation, it turned around and wanted to run. However, it was already here. There was no room for it to run. After the little doll noticed the little white snake, it suddenly opened its mouth and closed its lips together, suddenly erupting with a strong suction force. The little white snake tried its best to escape, but no matter what, it could not escape the little fellow's crazy sucking. The little boy easily swallowed the white snake. When the last bit of smoke fell into his mouth, the waiter licked his lips in satisfaction. It seemed that he was quite satisfied with today's trip. A long-winded man with closed eyes suddenly opened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of blood. "General, what's wrong? General." Changming looked in the direction of Sea City Base with a dark expression, but there seemed to be fear in his eyes. "Hurry up and leave. Hurry up and leave." Changming waved his sleeve and immediately gave the order to retreat. Everyone followed him and retreated in panic. They did not dare to stay here for a moment longer. Li Yuanqing lowered his head and patted the little fellow's head. After the soul-suppressing altar had sucked in the black dragon's incarnation, it had become a little unstable. That fellow did have some strength. If he wanted to completely refine it, he would probably need some time. Now, there was no more space to absorb extra people. Letting them go by themselves saved them a lot of trouble. City Lord. The enemies outside the city had all retreated. The captain of the guards was called Li Lin. He was a talent personally selected by Yi Qilua. This guy's martial arts were very powerful. He had been wandering in the wilderness all year round and had fought with demon beasts countless times. Unlike others who only knew how to hide every day, he was much more fierce. Looking at his aura, he was already faintly about to break through to the spirit transformation realm. After he broke through, he would become a powerful battle general of the human race. Yi Qilua finally relaxed. Li Yuanqing took the opportunity to propose a plan, but she didn't know how Li Yuanqing planned to implement it. She couldn't cooperate with him, so she had been worried all this time. Now that Li Yuanqing had easily resolved their plan, Yi Qilua let out a sigh of relief. As expected of Brother Li, Yi Qilua looked up at the sky, feeling a little excited. At this moment, Li Yuanqing had already disappeared. Just a moment ago, Li Yuanqing was still glowing. Yi Qilua was the only person who was awake and able to witness this special moment. She had personally witnessed the battle between Li Yuanqing and the Black Dragon. Although there was no sound between the two, it was an extremely dangerous battle. It was a duel between people of their level. Any mistake on either side would lead to eternal damnation. City Lord? The general shouted again, and Yi Qilua slowly turned around and said to him, "How are the people outside being controlled?" They were not allowed to walk around until the imperial advisor refined the antidote. City Lord, we have already sent people to capture them. They have become very quiet and easy to control. More than half of them have been controlled in specific areas. With the help of the imperial tutor, those areas have also been sealed. All right, send a fixed team to patrol every area every day. We can't let any accidents happen again. I don't want to see this chaotic scene again. Don't worry, City Lord. With the help of the imperial tutor, we will definitely be able to control the situation. It's just that. But what? Li Lin gritted his teeth and said slowly, "This is not a long-term solution. Actually, many of our brothers are almost unable to control it, but the concentration of poison gas in the city has decreased. If this concentration rises again, I'm afraid that our brothers will also." At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly sounded in Yi Qilua's ears. "What is it? Brotherly, are you serious?" Yi Qilua frowned as if she was talking to air. After confirming that person's intentions, Yi Qilua turned around unwillingly and ordered, "Send out 3 teams. Each team has 6 people. Starting from 2 hours later, they will take turns and head to the secret realm in the west of the city to pick the hemp vine fruit and hemp vine flower." The captain of the guards was stunned and looked at Yi Qilua with confusion. "But City Lord, that's a very dangerous thing. If we harvest a large number of them and they discover it, everyone will eat too much. I'm afraid that it will cause an even greater disturbance." Yi Qilua said in an unquestionable tone, "This is an order from the higher-ups. Don't ask too much, just carry it out immediately. What about those people scattered all over the place? Ignore them. Just control what you can control now. Scatter the rest everywhere. From now on, there's no need to take turns to expel them." The captain of the guards really didn't understand. The city lord had been very concerned about this matter, and he had controlled it quite strictly. If not for the sudden outbreak of war outside, which threatened the defense of the city, those guys would have been controlled. Why did the city lord suddenly give up on himself? If they were allowed to do whatever they wanted, Sea City Base, which had just been established, would be destroyed soon. How could they do this? However, the city lord's words were so firm. In the end, he could only grit his teeth and accept this matter. The city lord's actions were going to destroy Sea City Base. After the guard captain left, a figure slowly appeared beside Yi Qilua. It was Li Yuanqing. "Brotherly, are you sure you can control them? Do you know that he has gone completely crazy? I'm very worried." "There's nothing to worry about. Now that the threat outside has been eliminated, the demons won't attack again in the short term. The toxicity of this plant itself was not very high, so it could be slowly dissolved. Although they are very addicted now, they can be alleviated by increasing the dosage. Once the antidote was out, all the problems would be solved. Yi Qilua turned her head and looked at Li Yuanqing. If he had to make this decision, he would never dare to. He had to have some courage to come up with such an idea. After all, if the stability of Sea City Base was destroyed, it would lead to destruction. However, under the protection of Li Yuanqing, when Sea City could support and slowly grow, Yi Qilua was willing to believe that Li Yuanqing was the legendary sword immortal unconditionally. Although the monster race has already fled, they have a large number of people. If they make a comeback, I'm afraid they'll still be a great threat to us. Yi Qilua looked worriedly in the direction that the monster race had fled. Those guys were ruthless and lived in the wilderness, so they were very familiar with the environment there. Now, they were eyeing this place like tigers eyeing their prey. If the monster clan wanted to make a comeback, it would be very easy. It would depend on whether they had the will to do so. Tens of thousands of monster clan warriors were in the wilderness, making it impossible for Sea City Base people to go out and hunt for materials. Li Yuanqing silently stared in the direction of the river and said, I still want to find trouble with them. Brother Li, are you serious? These demons came from another domain space. They don't belong here. They will return to where they belong. After Li Yuanqing finished speaking, he took out a purple gold gourd. The gourd was dark purple in color, and there was a faint golden light flowing on it. This color was somewhat similar to the magic crystal square platform that Li Yuanqing had refined. The color of the magic crystal has been diluted by several levels. Yi Qilua looked at Li Yuanqing strangely, not knowing what he meant. This purple gold gourd has a certain restraining effect on the demons. If such a situation occurs in the future, it can also block it. Yi Qilua slowly put away the purple gold and the gourd in her hands, as if she had understood something. Is Brotherly going to leave? I've stayed here for too long. I'm also very grateful to Brotherly for your contribution to Sea City Base. Without you, Sea City Base wouldn't exist. It's the common goal of all of us to revitalize the human race in the catacombs world. I trust you. That's why I'm giving you this responsibility. I hope that you can make Sea City more mature and become a new starting point for the human civilization. Yi Qilua's hand trembled slightly and a bitter smile appeared on her face. Brotherly, you're flattering me too much. I don't have the ability to talk about the starting point of the human civilization. I can only manage my subordinates well. As for the rest, I'm afraid I have to rely on people like Brotherly. I believe in you. You have unique creativity. The purple gold gourd that Li Yuanqing took out was an accessory that he had refined with the remaining materials from his knowledge of refining the magic crystal square platform. Although its power was much weaker than the magic crystal square platform, one had to know how powerful the magic crystal square platform was. It was just a magic tool that could match the spirit of the demon race's thousands of troops, especially ordinary magic tools. Although it was only an accessory, the purple gold gourd was indeed quite miraculous. It did not reduce its strength at all. You only need to aim this at the enemy, and you will be able to absorb the enemy and refine them into thick water in this purple gold gourd. Thank you for the treasure, Brotherly. Mother, what should we do now? Are you going back? The atmosphere in the demon cave was very oppressive. The black dragon had come over with such a generous condition and wanted to cooperate with them. He said that he could take down the human race in an instant, but who would have thought that he would do so in such a way? Now that the black dragon had disappeared, it was very likely that it had been directly destroyed by Li Yuanqing. With this little ability, he still dared to say that he wanted to destroy the entire human race. This was too laughable. Black dragon, you've tricked me. The queen bug let out a sorrowful cry. This time, they had invested a huge number of troops. In the first two waves, 100,000 Zergs had died. These 100,000 soldiers were a very important fighting force for them. In order to win in one fell swoop, they had invested a lot in the first two waves. They were basically all powerful people. Now that these people had been eliminated, the strength of the entire bug tribe had been greatly reduced. Their overall strength had been reduced by a third, and they had been killed so easily. It was simply too laughable. What was even more ridiculous was that the black dragons had disappeared without a trace, leaving them outside Sea City base. If they hadn't run fast enough, they would have become the third team to be destroyed. Changming knelt at the feet of the queen insect and said nothing. None of the brothers beside him blamed him. He was a well-known expert in the entire Zerg race. If even he could not do anything about it, the others would probably be at a loss as well. Now that his mother had already said so, it was likely that they could only retreat. Indeed, they should not have appeared here. All soldiers of the bug tribe, remember this, we cannot live under the same sky as the humans. Irreconcilable heavens! Irreconcilable heavens! They shouted this slogan over and over again. Behind this slogan was the signal that they were about to retreat. After shouting, they would leave this catacombs world forever and never return. However, what they didn't notice was that in a corner, a short demon with a little fairy on his shoulder was wandering around the demon cave. This person wasn't aimless. He picked the places where the energy was dense and slowly followed them. He had figured out all these places. As he walked, he suddenly came to a teleportation gate. There were 2 people guarding it. The 2 of them noticed that someone was approaching and immediately waved the weapons in their hands in front of them as a warning. Who dares to barge into the warehouse? The short man jumped to the side and carefully sized up the 2 guards. He smiled and said, "Don't misunderstand, don't misunderstand. We're all on the same side. Who told you to come to this place? Hurry up and go back. This isn't a place you should come to. Brother, you have been guarding this place all this time. It has been hard on you. Why don't you have a good rest? Don't talk nonsense here. If you continue to linger and don't leave, we'll make a move. Brother, why are you so heartless? One came here to give you a message." "What letter? The 2 of us don't need you to inform us." These 2 guards were tall and muscular. They looked at the little guy in front of them, and his strength was so weak. They didn't take him seriously at all. This guy wasn't very powerful. They did not have any wariness towards this kid. However, it was really a special period now, and it was very sensitive. If something went wrong at this time, they would not be able to bear the responsibility. It was Mother who asked me to come and temporarily guard this place. She asked the 2 of you to quickly report to the front. The exit ahead is about to be closed. This little fellow's words confused the 2 of them. They knew that they had to retreat immediately, but what did this have to do with the 2 of them reporting? What nonsense are you talking about? We've never heard of such a request before, nor have we heard of this news. If you don't leave now, we'll really make a move. The little fellow became more and more anxious as he spoke. He immediately leaned towards the 2 of them and said while dancing with joy, "It was really great General Changming who sent me here. You 2 are in such important positions, so one naturally have to consider the 2 of you. Why don't you believe me?" The 2 of them listened to his nonsense and did not take it to heart at first. No one noticed that the little sprite that looked like a seed had run behind him. A baby's hand popped out from the back of each of their necks. The small hands did not look very big, but they were a little cute and tender. The little hand grabbed the necks of the 2 people without any explanation. These 2 guards were still talking to Li Yuanqing just now. At this moment, they suddenly stopped talking. They were directly controlled like this. The little fellow stuck his head out between the 2 of them. His 2 arms were stretched out, and his eyes were looking at Li Yuanqing as if he was asking for permission. Li Yuanqing nodded slowly and ignored him. He walked straight towards the entrance of the cave. After the little elf behind him received such permission, she was immediately overjoyed. When the baby's mouth opened, it was as big as an adult's head. It directly swallowed the head of one of the guards into its mouth. His 2 hands were not enough. He stretched out another arm from behind him to grab the guard and stuffed both hands into his stomach. Although his body was small and exquisite, it was only about half a meter tall now. However, he forcefully swallowed the 2-meter-tall demon warrior. After swallowing it, his stomach was still round, and he only burped slightly. The other guard's eyes were wide open. Although he could not move, he seemed to still have consciousness. He could see everything that was happening in front of him. He could clearly feel the fear gradually spreading around him. This little fellow was harmless, yet it had actually swallowed a living person. It was obvious that the next target was him. The little elf licked her lips and turned to look at the remaining guard. Li Yuanqing took a step forward and directly entered the rotating hole. There was a forbidden array outside, but it was a very low-level array. Li Yuanqing had already casually cracked it. This array formation was connected to the body of the eldest mother bug of the same race. If the array was damaged, the queen bug would receive the news immediately. However, Li Yuanqing had built a fake information array on this basis. After the original array formation was destroyed, it could still continue to send out false information to deceive the other party. Now, the queen bug did not notice the fact that the array formation in the warehouse had been destroyed. This was the warehouse of the insect race. There were mountains of spirit stones and all kinds of magic tools seized from the human race. This was the accumulation of thousands of years of their race, their wandering lives, their burning, killing, pillaging, and plundering. All of these assets were here. Such a huge amount of treasures could easily feed a human city with a population of 1 million for decades. However, when these insectoids burned, killed, and plundered, they were clean and merciless. However, they did not know how to use them at all. These magic tools were buried in dust and piled up there to slowly rot. The original array formation was also blurred, and its effectiveness was greatly reduced. Most of these were buried in their hands. Li Yuanqing did not show any mercy. As soon as he entered, he immediately kept all the treasures in front of him into his domain space. These mountains were forcefully moved over, filling up the originally empty domain space. After a long time, Li Yuanqing finally moved the storeroom clean. The storeroom that looked a little crowded was now empty. There were also many eggs. These eggs looked like insect eggs, and it was difficult to tell what they were. If they were eggs, their outer shell was very hard, like an eggshell. However, if they were the eggs of some kind of creature, then their shells were woven from threads. Although Li Yuanqing had never seen the queen worm laying eggs, he could guess that this 1-meter-tall egg was the offspring of the queen worm. Li Yuanqing was quite curious as to why the insect race could produce so many demons of all shapes and sizes. He also put those eggs into his domain space. At that time, he could also try to hatch them. If they were useful, he could keep them. If they were useless, he could just kill those little guys that were born. He could even directly give it to the man-eating vines to increase his strength. It was not a bad choice. Li Yuanqing looked around and nodded in satisfaction. This trip was not in vain. These demons had been wreaking havoc here for so long. It was time for him to take back some things from them. However, it seemed that the things he had obtained this time were much more than he had imagined. After Li Yuanqing came out of this warehouse, he transformed back into his short appearance. His original plan was to leave immediately after taking the things. He did not owe the Zergs anything. Moreover, under the orders of the Bug Queen, the Bug Tribe was about to close the passageway to the Catacombs world. Li Yuanqing wanted to leave as soon as possible to avoid being left here forever. However, just as Li Yuanqing was about to leave, the little guy suddenly became unhappy. He grabbed Li Yuanqing's collar and insisted on walking in. "What are you doing? The queen insect is extremely powerful. Even I don't have absolute confidence in defeating it here. It's still very dangerous." The little fellow looked at Li Yuanqing with teary eyes. "What are you doing? What is inside?" If it didn't take too long, he could go and take a look. The little guy immediately cheered again. He jumped down from Li Yuanqing's shoulder and ran inside excitedly, as if he didn't care about me at all. He didn't even think about safety at all. Li Yuanqing has no method, can only slowly follow up, although I know that the Zerg race is now tense, but this little elf itself has a special physique. If it can find out what treasure, can also be considered as an unexpected joy. The two of them walked into the depths of the Zerg's cave one after the other. Moreover, the passage they were walking down was going down step by step. It seemed that the place they were going down was too deep. It seemed that they had gone down thousands of feet. They didn't know when they would end. As they descended deeper and deeper, even Li Yuanqing was a little worried. He had originally said that he would leave immediately after coming in and taking the things, but he did not expect that he would be delayed. Moreover, that little fellow did not have any intention of stopping. What should he do? Li Yuanqing wanted to call the little elf back many times, but he didn't do it. He braced himself and continued to follow him down step by step. As they went deeper, the temperature of the underground cave gradually increased. In the direction of the cave, there was a huge furnace that was constantly roasting, raising the temperature of the cave to an extremely high level. Without the protection of spiritual energy, even Li Yuanqing's physical body might not be able to withstand this temperature. Li Yuanqing waved his hand, and a cool shield appeared beside him. He looked at the little elf running happily in front of him. The high temperature did not seem to affect him at all. The little fellow suddenly turned a corner as he ran. He seemed to have fallen and rolled down. Li Yuanqing hurriedly followed and looked forward. The little fellow had rolled forward for a few hundred feet. They had already arrived at a flat area with a very wide space. Beside it was a pile of pink eggs, which were still flickering with a faint light. At the end of the experience space, there was a large pile of white things. It looked very much like the body of the queen insect, and it could be seen that the thing was still squirming. At the center of the area, there was a monster lying on the ground. Its muscles were all tensed up. A huge gray tail hung behind its butt, and its head was a long and narrow wolf head. At this moment, he was concentrating on the queen bug in front of him. The werewolf suddenly trembled, and then its tensed body collapsed to the ground. It knelt on the ground with a thud and panted heavily, as if it had experienced something very energy-consuming. After the werewolf was done with his work, he retreated weakly. He turned around and saw someone standing behind him. "Who are you? Who allowed you to come here?" The werewolf reprimanded in dissatisfaction. Li Yuanqing stood there in a daze. Just as the werewolf was about to flare up, Li Yuanqing suddenly walked towards him. "What are you doing? If you don't get out quickly, I'll skin you alive." The werewolf was not in the mood to talk nonsense with Li Yuanqing. However, this kid had been staying here and refused to leave, which made him very angry. However, after Li Yuanqing was threatened by him, not only did he not leave, but he even walked up forcefully like a fool. "You're courting death." The werewolf let out a furious roar and stretched out its thick arm, grabbing towards Li Yuanqing. With this claw, an ordinary person would be directly crushed. The werewolf didn't want to waste his breath on this fellow, so he directly attacked with a fatal blow. However, at this moment, a strange little head suddenly appeared behind him. The little guy directly lay on his neck and bit down heavily. The werewolf hurriedly retracted his hand in pain and suddenly grabbed at his neck. It was just a short distance, and the werewolf couldn't make it in time. His hand slowly stopped. His mental energy was still sufficient, but his eyes gradually dimmed and turned into white spheres. The little fellow retracted its mouth in satisfaction. It patted its round belly and stood on the werewolf's shoulder. The werewolf, who was still alive and kicking a moment ago, had now become a stone statue. Li Yuanqing looked around. What was so special about the little fellow that insisted on coming here? Although there were many eggs outside, the eggs inside could clearly feel that their auras were much stronger. Although it was only in a state of transition, the aura vaguely had the appearance of a spirit transformation realm. At this moment, a sticky insect egg squeezed out from the white body of the giant. The insect egg rolled to the ground and landed right beside Li Yuanqing's feet. The little fellow pounced at Li Yuanqing's feet and picked up the insect egg. Although the insect egg was 2 to 3 times bigger than his body, he easily lifted it above his head and hugged it. His entire body leaned back exaggeratedly, and he was almost unsteady. However, he was smiling very happily. After the little guy spun around in the air a few times, it suddenly threw the egg into the air. He opened his mouth wide, and a strong suction force came from his mouth. This suction force kept pulling, easily sucking the egg into his mouth. His mouth suddenly enlarged several times, forcefully swallowing the entire egg. After the little guy took a bite, he burped and patted his belly proudly. It turned out that he had smelled the aura of these eggs from the outside. Feeling the increase in energy in his body, Li Yuanqing was also ecstatic. All this while, he had not known how to properly nurture the soul-suppressing altar. Although the little fellow could also absorb some power from the outside world, its speed was not very impressive. Now that he had found such a treasure trove, if the little guy could devour these eggs to increase his energy, then there were so many eggs in this cave. If he took all of them away, wouldn't the power of the soul-suppressing altar increase by several levels? Li Yuanqing waved his hand without hesitation. The eggs that were fixed on the wall by the big net started to shake crazily. They were very reluctant to stick to the wall. Many of them even had their own consciousness and could control them freely. However, with their current strength, it was still difficult for them to resist such a powerful suction force. Li Yuanqing's strength was too powerful for them. It was not something they could withstand. There were 4.0 to 50 eggs in this cave. These eggs were of different sizes. Some of them should have developed for a long time and were about to transform successfully. Li Yuanqing mercilessly stole all of them. After cleaning up the area, the two quickly left. At this moment, the mother insect above suddenly realized something. There had been too much trouble these days. He had made a wrong decision last time, causing the entire race to face the threat of extinction. He had to devote himself to controlling the Zerg. Right now was the crucial time to close the spatial entrance, but just now, there seemed to be some strange movements coming from the nest below. The protruding part of the queen bug's body slightly twisted a few times. The body that was as white as a wall suddenly turned into a human shape. After arriving here, he saw the mess and the empty scene on the wall beside him. He was instantly shocked. The queen bug let out a shrill scream. This scream could be heard clearly in any corner of the cave. Of course, there were also Li Yuanqing and the other two. The two of them had also heard the incomparably clear screams. However, at this moment, Li Yuanqing had already arrived at another cave under the lead of Little Rascal. The white bear guarding this cave had also been quickly taken care of. Their race relied on this method to maintain their reproduction. The mother insect selected the demonic beasts in their prime and mated with them. Finally, they gave birth to eggs and continued to reproduce like this, causing many different forms to appear in the entire insect race. After the queen bug gave the order, the entire Zerg cave was in chaos. The troops that were originally used for defense were all gathered in the various nests. They had never expected that someone could take advantage of the situation and sneak into such a deep place. How did these guys and thieves get in? Li Yuanqing didn't have time to stay any longer. He directly put away all the eggs in this cave and put the little dot into his pocket. The two of them turned into a gust of wind and disappeared into this narrow and long cave. All of you, be smart and watch carefully. If there's any situation, report it immediately. There can't be any mistakes. A long and narrow guy with countless limbs was waving two of the weapons and giving orders to his subordinates. They were ordered to guard this place and had their underlings continue to search along the passageway below. They heard that there was movement here just now. Perhaps that person was hiding nearby. This was an extremely critical moment for them. Their entire race had never provoked the humans outside. However, this time, it seemed that they had done something wrong. It was as if they had been punished. They had been harassed by the humans. Not only had so many of their own kind been killed by the humans, but they had also been forced into the cave to steal their eggs. There were a total of 3 branches down the fork that their team was at. Not long after, the two guys from the middle road ran back in a hurry. "What are you two doing? I told you to send a signal if something happened. Why did you run back without saying a word? Do you want to die?" The captain glared at the two of them angrily and questioned them. At this critical moment, the two of them still dared to screw up like this. If their mother found out, no one would be able to save their lives. The two panted as they reported, "Captain, there's something strange down here." "What's strange?" "If you see someone, you can report directly and send a signal for reinforcements." "What are you shouting here for?" "Captain, go and take a look. It's really strange down there. Someone put a lot of eggs there, but we didn't find anyone." "What? There are eggs?" "That's right, it's just here. We don't know if we should take it back." The centipede spirit's eyes rolled around, carefully sizing up the place. In that case, the person should have thrown away his helmet and fled. Then let's send this egg back first. "Where is it?" "It's just below, Captain. Lead the way in front of you." They actually walked down, one in front and one behind. Although the captain was not very handsome, he was still at the 2nd grade of the array formation realm. Although his form had changed, he still stuck to the wall when he walked. His legs moved very quickly, and it could not change his nature. They continued to chase forward. Not long after, the two people in front suddenly stopped. There were indeed a few insect eggs in front of him. They were flickering slightly as if they were responding to something. The captain pushed them away and caught up with them, directly hugging the egg in his arms. "Shameless thief, how dare you sneak into this place? If one catch you, you won't have a good ending." At this moment, he suddenly felt his body become very heavy. He felt as if his limbs were tied up by something. Fi looked at himself in confusion. He didn't know when, but his long and narrow body had been tightly tied up by someone. There were black silk threads all over his body. The black silk threads were getting tighter and tighter, firmly binding him inside, making him unable to move. The centipede spirit turned pale with fright. It opened its large mouth and wanted to send out a signal. However, at this moment, a medium-sized cover suddenly came down on his head and enveloped his entire body. The two underlings who had been leading the way had also disappeared. Instead, they had turned into a young human boy. This fellow had a tender appearance and looked very young. However, he gave off a feeling of authority without being angry. The temperament on his body was so terrifying. The centipede spirit found that no matter how hard it tried, it could not send out any signal at all. All of its strength was sealed, and the black rope had also sealed all the spiritual energy in its body. It could not mobilize it at all. Even though he was extremely surprised, he could not express even a little bit. He could only watch helplessly as the young man walked over step by step until he was in front of him. "I'm warning you, you can't run away, human boy. You will die here. You will die here." Li Yuanqing didn't bother with him. He wanted him to stay because he needed a complete curved shell. After a while, a half-human, half-demon with a long body and countless pairs of long legs slowly crawled out of the cave. At first, it seemed like he was not used to his body. He walked awkwardly, and his claws collided with each other. However, the more he walked, the faster he walked. As he ran, he turned into a black lightning bolt. This centipede spirit was transformed from Li Yuanqing. He had no obstructions along the way. He relied on this body to wander around, shouting slogans with those people and searching for the eggs everywhere. However, they could not find any clues about the eggs. The person with the insect eggs had already arrived at the exit. There were 5 powerful battle generals standing at the exit. These people were working together to activate a formation that was acting on the teleportation door. It looked like the entrance was about to be sealed. Each of these 5 people was at the 6th level of the array formation realm. At that moment, they were fully focused on the array formation and did not have the time to care about what was happening outside. At that time, there would be more than a dozen soldiers guarding behind them. Who is it? The front is forbidden from entering. When the centipede spirit reached this place, he was suddenly stopped by someone. The guard glared at him with a dignified expression. "I'm from the search team. I saw that human running over here with my own eyes. I don't know where he's hiding now." "The search team?" The guard glared at him unhappily and said, "We are only stationed here, and there are 5 generals stationed here. Even if that human panicked, he wouldn't come here and look elsewhere." However, the centipede spirit was very stubborn. "I saw him come here with my own eyes. One can't be wrong. His aura disappeared here, so he must be hiding here. Moreover, this person is very good at illusions. One have reason to suspect that he has already changed into the appearance of one of you and is hiding here." "Nonsense, we're all guards stationed here. How could he have the time to replace us? This matter is of great importance. Do you know that that human has dozens of top-grade insect eggs on him? If you let him take these insect eggs away, what kind of consequences will you face?" Although the guard was very unyielding just now, when he mentioned taking responsibility, he panicked. Although they were very sure that there would not be any human spies among them, they did not dare to say anything more after hearing what was said. If they were to bear this responsibility, they would not have the courage to stand up if something really went wrong. "Hurry up and let me search." Just as they were arguing, one of the 5 generals suddenly stepped out and walked in front of them. "What happened?" The guard gave a clear explanation of what had happened. The general sized up the centipede spirit and frowned slightly, as if he had sensed that something was wrong. "You mean that human is good at disguising?" "That's right. A few of my brothers told me that after that human killed their subordinate, he transformed into his appearance and easily deceived everyone. We can't be careless." The general grabbed the centipede spirit's waist, folded it in half, and lifted it up. He stared at him with a cold gaze, and his divine sense kept scanning his body. Since you said that this person is so good at illusions, how can you be sure that you're not an illusion of that human? The centipede spirit stuttered as its waist was stuck and it could not breathe. General, I've been chasing people all the way here. If you kill me, then the clues of the human race will be cut off. Are you threatening me? I wouldn't dare to. However, at this critical moment, please consider the overall situation. The general carefully searched the centipede several times, but he couldn't find anything wrong with it. There seemed to be nothing wrong with it. Did he sense wrongly just now? Why was he so clean? This shouldn't be the case. He threw the centipede demon on the ground and said coldly, "Since you insist on searching, then hurry up. Don't be an eyesore." The centipede spirit rubbed her waist and smiled at the general. "I understand." As the centipede spirit spoke, it took out a strange-looking bead from its chest. This bead looked quite strange. After he took out the pearl, he twisted it in all directions as if he was looking for something. The guards stationed here had also been mobilized. The centipede spirit held the pearl and waved it in front of each of them several times. It was unknown if it had found any clues. He could only see that the light on the pearl was flickering. "Are you done yet? Can you find it? If you can't find it, we'll have to hold you accountable." The centipede demon stared at the bead in his hand with all his attention. He used his 4 legs to support the bead, and his entire body kept twisting and turning. He kept looking for the direction that would make the bead gradually brighten. He walked towards the array step by step. The guards did not notice him at first. It was only when he walked to the periphery of the array that the guard finally reacted and rushed over to stop him. "What are you doing? Do you know where that place is? Can you bear the responsibility if you delay the entrance? Hurry up and get lost." The centipede spirit shouted at the general beside him, "General, the aura of this human ahead is extremely strong. I think the human must have passed through here. This is impossible. General, please let me try." "No, this entrance is about to be completely sealed. You can't go in." The centipede spirit suddenly raised the pearl and rushed into the array. The general did not stop him because the energy released by the array when it sealed the entrance was enough to tear a guy like him into pieces. Stopping him just now was just a kind reminder. Since this guy was stubborn, he couldn't blame others for his death. The centipede spirit dragged the pearl deeper and deeper, directly arriving at the entrance of the array formation. The pearl in his hand also became brighter and brighter. Taking advantage of everyone's lack of attention, he suddenly jumped and actually jumped towards the entrance. His movements were as smooth as flowing water, so fast that no one could see him clearly. In the blink of an eye, he had completely disappeared. Even the general had no time to react. By the time he reacted, he had already disappeared without a trace, leaving only the empty portal. What happened? Who went out? The sudden spatial fluctuation woke up the other generals. They looked at his unstable array in surprise. "Oh no, the array is about to explode. Brothers, hurry up and seal this entrance." They were now left with the last bit of time. If they did not seal the entrance before the array completely lost control, the entrance they had created would become extremely unstable and might continue to exist for a long time in the future. In that case, it would become a very big loophole. It would bring great instability to the entire Zerg race, and it might be a disaster. That guy went out? The guards were dumbstruck. They had never expected that the arrogant centipede demon would run out of the teleportation gate like a wisp of smoke. Did he run out? Nonsense. No one can get out of here. The general who had just woken up roared behind him. Captain Centipede died in the portal while searching for the criminal. No one leaves this place, remember? General, remember this? Outside the space, in the catacombs world, an extremely unstable vortex appeared out of thin air, and a human male spat out from it. Li Yuanqing rolled and landed on the ground. The black vortex behind him twisted a few times and suddenly exploded. The explosion produced countless small black fragments. Although these small black fragments looked very small and were not enough to attract attention, Li Yuanqing was very cautious about this song. After dodging a few times, he finally stabilized his body. Fortunately, he managed to escape from the cave of the same race at the last moment. Otherwise, it would be hard to say if he was trapped inside. However, this time, he had gained quite a lot. Not only did he successfully take revenge, but he also brought back so many insect eggs. These insect eggs were enough for the little guy to eat for a while. If he could really digest Ailthe's power, the soul-suppressing altar would definitely be upgraded to a very large level. After eating the insect egg, the little fellow fell into a deep sleep. Now, there was no sound. It was completely immersed in the soul-suppressing altar. After the teleportation gate disappeared, the threat of the Zergs to the human race was completely gone. The Black Dragon had invited this helper, but he did not expect that he would run away in a panic after not holding on for long. Before he left, he was even bitten ruthlessly. Pingcheng. It was now the most prosperous human city in the entire Catacombs world. Many prestigious figures had been born here. Ever since trade had resumed here and various kinds of encouragement had been given, many talented people had been nurtured. Among them, there was no lack of powerful artifact masters and alchemy masters. It was precisely because of his outstanding creativity that Pingcheng became more and more prosperous. Pingcheng was no longer the city that was at the bottom of the rankings. If one were to sell this heavenly yuan pill in their market, it would fetch at least 50,000 spirit stones. I don't think you have any sincerity at all. Let's forget about our negotiation. In a small tavern, two humans were on guard against each other. The bearded man who spoke had a fierce expression on his face as he glared angrily at the gentle and refined man in front of him. The man did not show any fear in the face of his threats. Instead, he seemed to be in the right. Stop trying to scare me. I still have 50,000 spirit stones. If it was a real heavenly yuan pill, you wouldn't be able to buy it even if you had 100,000 spirit stones. However, you're a defective product, and it's even the most effective product among defective products. You brat, you're spouting nonsense and insulting my innocence. One have the best heaven rank restoration pills here. One won't sell them for less than 50,000. The two of them did not give in to each other. The elegant man shrugged helplessly and said, "All right then, since you insist on deceiving others, then go ahead and say that the auction house only has the standard of something like you. Let me tell you, no auction house is willing to accept something like you." After a round of mockery, the elegant man changed the topic and said sympathetically, "If you sell it to me now, stop wasting your breath on other places. If you still want to put on an act with me, then go find someone else. I don't believe that anyone would be willing to pay you 3,000 spirit stones." The burly man was a little hesitant by the man's words. He knew very well what kind of goods he had. They were indeed not top-notch goods, but it was not easy to collect them. If he sold them for 3,000 spirit stones, he would still lose money. It's up to you whether you want it or not. Anyway, I've already told you that it's at least 30,000 yuan. Seeing that the deal was over, the elegant man stood up and hung the jade pendant on his body again. He also tidied up all his things very meticulously before raising his head to look at the burly man. "Brother, my price is already high enough. You can ask around. One believe that no one will bid higher than me." After he finished speaking, a lean man suddenly walked over from the side. This man seemed to be passing by, but his gaze seemed to be attracted by something and stopped at the table. "Io, isn't this Master Zhao?" The skinny man seemed to have found an idol and said in surprise, "Why are you here? The famous appraiser, Zhao Tianji, is actually here. What kind of luck do one have?" The elegant man smiled slightly, as if he was a very low-key person. There is no need to say these words. Everyone is a cultivator. There is no need to distinguish between high and low. It is fate that we can meet. The skinny man was extremely touched as he held his hand. "Master Zhao, I finally witnessed it. When you go to your auction house to see that treasure, you have to queue for a month. Today, you're here to help me see a treasure. If you see it, I'll give you a 30% commission." "What commission?" "Since I'm fated with you, I'll help you take a look." The skinny man took out a gourd. The gourd was very round, and it was emitting a black light. When he shook it casually, one could vaguely hear something shaking inside. When the scholarly man saw the black gourd, he seemed to be very interested. "This is a pretty good wine-making magic tool. Its grade is not low. If you sell it, the price should be above 100,000. Really? It can be sold for 100,000 yuan? One accidentally obtained this from a certain cave. It should be that some senior was killed by a demon beast and left this treasure behind. One was lucky enough to pick it up. Take it to the auction house and ask. The lean man looked at the gentleman gratefully and said, "Thank you so much, Master Zhao. Just now, someone offered 5,000 spirit stones to sell it to me. I was also a little tempted, but one felt that it was not worth it, so one temporarily kept it." This so-called Grandmaster Zhao glanced at the brawny man beside him from the corner of his eyes and said meaningfully, "Since it's worth 100,000, then it should be sold for 100,000. If it's only worth 3,000, then one can't possibly give you 30,000. After Master Zhao finished speaking, he patted the guy's shoulder and was about to leave. The burly man behind him looked at the situation and was a little surprised. He originally thought that this guy was a swindler who came here to blow up his words. However, he did not expect this person to really have some skills. He could even meet fans on the street. He should be somewhat famous. If that was the case, would his heaven rank restoration pill really not be able to sell for a good price? Master Zhao had only taken a few steps when he was suddenly stopped by the burly man. He put on a flattering expression. "Master, did you just say that this thing of mine is only worth 3,000? Master Zhao squinted at him and said, "You have to see whose hands it is. If it's in my hands, one have a way to make it worth 3,000. But if it's in your hands, it's hard to say." The brawny man looked at Master Zhao anxiously and asked, "But Master, I spent a lot of effort to get this pill. If it's only worth 3,000, wouldn't one be at a loss?" Grandmaster Zhao smiled and shook his head. "Most of the things in this world are like this. You may be deceived by others because you don't have enough knowledge. However, there are more people in this world who have seen the world. If you want to get back all your hard work on this pill, I'm afraid it's not too realistic. It's better to honestly return to your roots first. It's more feasible." The brawny man was a little flustered by the words of this so-called master. He could not bear to use such a precious thing. Initially, he had thought that he would be able to get a bargain and earn some money to exchange for some materials. Who knew that he would still be cheated? He knew that there was no such good thing in this world. He could take advantage of anything. "Master, I'll sell it to you for 3,000. In the alley, Zhao Tianji happily played with the heavenly yuan pill in his hand. He looked at the gradually leaving figure behind him and revealed a contemptuous smile. This guy is too stupid. He was fooled by a few words. This medicinal pill is really easy to deceive. At the corner in front, his teammate who had been singing with him just now slowly walked out. The two of them looked at each other and saw the smug expression in each other's eyes. That's enough. One got a heavenly restoration pill for 3,000 spirit stones. Although the quality isn't very good, one should be able to sell it for a good price. We can sell it for at least 8,000 yuan. That guy is too stupid to believe us." The skinny man smiled very happily. The two of them had made a lot of money with this skill. "I thought you could be more ruthless and lower the price. If you said it was 2,000, that guy would probably believe you. You were too soft. That's too much. One think 3,000 is about it. If it's any lower, that guy will be desperate." All right. Let's hurry to the 1,000 Treasures Chamber of Commerce to take a look. If that kid reacted later, it would be too late. He had to sell it quickly. After discussing for a while, the two of them hurriedly walked towards the central urban area of Pingcheng. There were a lot of bustling buildings there, which had been greatly improved compared to before. If Li Yuanqing was here, he would probably be extremely shocked to see the completely changed Ping City. In the past, Ping City was divided into two urban areas, the inner city and the outer city, under the control of the demons. The two districts were separated by a thick wall. Most of the residential areas in the inner layer were large courtyards. Most of the demons were large in size, so they needed more space to move around. The houses they built were mainly wide open spaces. The outer city was a very crowded slum area where people gathered. It was a mess. However, everything had changed now. The difference between the inner city and the outer city had long been eliminated. After the two sides were connected, it became a huge urban area. Ping City now occupied a large area. Compared to the previous area, It had expanded by dozens of miles. It was mainly in the central urban area, and the buildings were very tall. It was mainly due to the superb construction ability of the human race that all these buildings were designed very exquisitely, especially the chambers of commerce in the middle urban area, which were extremely luxurious. One of the largest chambers of commerce was the Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce. Of course, there was also the classic old Chamber of Commerce, the 100 Treasures Pavilion. The owner of the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair was called Zhao Tian. This was a well-known thing. Boss Zhao was easygoing and a very peaceful person. Basically, everyone liked to make friends with him. As long as he could get along with people, he would be able to talk to them. He was also very willing to interact with the lower-class people in Pingcheng, so he was very popular. As for the 100 Treasures Pavilion, it had been around since Pingcheng was just established. This shop was inextricably linked to Chengdu. Therefore, it had been a long time since the shop was established. Many shops had already gone through several rounds of sales. The old and new had replaced each other, but the 100 Treasures Pavilion was still standing tall. However, during this period of time, they were faintly suppressed by the Thousand Treasures Trade Association. The two families could be considered as the two pillars that supported the trade of the entire Pingcheng. These two chambers of commerce had many trading venues under their names. They even had individual trading markets and many large-scale auction houses. These auction houses were busy every day and were very lively. It was said that the city lord, Hu Jujio, was already an array formation realm expert. However, it had been a long time since the people in Ping City had seen the city lord. In the past, the city lord was very active in this city. However, after the situation had stabilized, the city lord's appearance was much less than before. Therefore, no one knew what realm the city lord was at. They could only guess the city lord's cultivation through legends. Perhaps he was already in the array formation realm, or perhaps he was still one step away. However, no one knew. At the entrance of a branch of the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair, two young men stopped there. The two of them looked at each other very familiarly and then went their separate ways. Although it was only an inconspicuous small branch, it also had entrances and exits that extended in all directions. It took up a large area in front, back, left, and right, and there were a total of more than 10 doors. Zhao Tianji found a less prominent small door and walked in unsteadily, pretending to look around as if nothing had happened. Fellow Taoist, what do you want to buy? Our Thousand Treasures Trading Company is the largest trading company in Pingcheng. We have everything you need here. Do you need magic tools, pills, or array diagrams? A sweet-looking receptionist came in front of Zhao Tianji with a very sweet smile and greeted him with a smile. Zhao Tianji looked left and right, coughed lightly, and casually took out the pill box. I have a heavenly yuan pill refined by a top alchemist here. One heard that your Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce especially likes to buy all kinds of goods. One wonder how much you can give me for this pill. All right, fellow Taoist. Please wait a moment. The receptionist took the box and placed it in front of her eyes. She took a look. It was really rare for any random receptionist in the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair to be able to appraise treasures like this. However, Zhao Tianji was not surprised at all. It was as if he was already used to such a situation. The woman only held the pill in her hand. After looking at it for a while, she put it back into the box and returned it to Zhao Tianji. Fellow Taoist, this pill doesn't look particularly good. If you want to sell it, we can only offer 4,000 spirit stones. 4,000 spirit stones? Are you trying to get rid of the beggars? Zhao Tianji was furious and cursed. The expression on the woman's face did not change at all. It was as if it had been embedded in her face. There was no movement at all. Fellow Taoist, I understand your feelings, but I have to tell you that this heavenly yuan pill might be worth some money some time ago. Even if the quality of this one isn't very good, it might still be able to sell for a certain price. However, the situation has been very normal recently. The price of the heavenly yuan pill on the market has dropped very quickly. I'm afraid that it really can't be sold at a high price. This is the highest price one can offer you. Zhao Tianji was also a veteran in the martial arts world. He had seen all kinds of storms and waves. How could he be casually dismissed by these two words? He sized up the woman and pursed his lips. I say, your Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce is really good at sucking blood. You say that you're lowering the price in a dignified manner, but aren't you actually looking for all kinds of excuses to cheat us of our money? When I asked you a few days ago, this heavenly restoration pill was worth 6 to 7,000. Why is it only worth 4,000 today? The woman had no choice but to take a step back. She looked like she was not going to do this transaction. She took a step back and gave up. Zhao Tianji was a little anxious. Although Zhao Tianji had said that just now, he was just bluffing. He did not plan to use the heaven rank restoration pill in his hands. If it really rotted in his hands, he would be in trouble. Seeing that this person seemed to be really only willing to pay such a price, Zhao Tianji cursed in his heart. It was obvious that he was very dissatisfied with his encounter. He thought that he could earn a lot of money, but now he only earned 1,000. Wasn't that too little? He had been so busy just to earn 1,000 spirit stones. It was simply not worth it. However, if he couldn't sell it, wouldn't he lose even more? It would be too bad if it was in bad hands. He didn't want this business to fall apart like this. Miss, can't we talk about it again? I think the quality of my heaven rank restoration pill is not bad. At least you can give me more. Your price of 4,000 spirit stones is a little too little. Why don't you call your boss out and I'll talk to him? I'm sorry, young master. Our boss is busy with something else right now, so I'm afraid he won't be able to receive young master for a while. If young master has something urgent to attend to, you can make an appointment now. What do you mean? I want to see your boss now, but why do I have to wait so long? Are you trying to fool me? I'm sorry, young master. This is our rule here. If you're in a hurry, I can help you put on an emergency call. When the boss has time, he will definitely receive you as soon as possible. Zhao Tianji was really a little anxious. Just now, he was thinking of some ideas to divert his attention. At least, he could scare this girl in front of him. This way, he could at least fight for more benefits. In the end, she did not fall for it at all. Instead, she gritted her teeth and did not lower the price at all. If that was the case, then it would be really difficult. It would be difficult to sell it for 4,000 spirit stones. At this moment, a person suddenly moved over to his side. This person seemed to be nonchalant as he leaned over and looked at the two of them. He asked intentionally or unintentionally, "This heavenly yuan pill looks pretty good. How much is it?" The person who came was Zhao Tianji's partner. The two of them looked at each other, and Zhao Tianji immediately replied with a dissatisfied expression, "Don't mention it. I'm such a good heaven rank restoration pill, but this chick offered me a price of 4,000 spirit stones. Isn't this cheating?" The world was getting more and more miserable. Really? The quality of this heavenly yuan pill is so good, but you only offered 4,000 spirit stones. Aren't you guys too stingy? I remember that the Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce has always been known for its honesty. Why is your branch offering such a low price? Could he be fooling people? I heard that you can report it. If you report it, there will be a reward. The smile on the woman's face froze for a moment, but she still did not relent on the price. Young masters, I've made it very clear just now. Recently, our Thousand Treasures Trade Fair has been selling a lot of heavenly yuan pills. Now, the price of heavenly yuan pills has been suppressed to a very low level, and they are all very good quality. If you're interested, you can come to our shop to have a closer look. However, I can only give you 4,000 spirit stones at most for this one. Little girl, you're too stingy. Also, why are you being so serious? You're just a worker. Even if they earn money, they won't share it with you. If you turn a blind eye and say that the grade is a little higher, won't everyone be happy? At most, this young master will give you a little commission, don't you think so? The man was quite pleased with himself after being bewitched. However, when the girl heard what he said, her face immediately darkened. She glared at the two of them and said, "If you two guests want to buy something, our Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce welcomes you. However, if you want to do something sneaky, then we can't accompany you. If you dare to harass me again, I'll call for help. At that time, everyone will be embarrassed. I advise you to leave by yourself." "Hey, I'm a little girl. Why are you in such a hurry? I was just joking with you. You two can talk about your business." Seeing that the other party hadn't finished speaking, the other party turned around and intended to leave. The speed of the change in attitude was faster than flipping through a book. It really scared the two of them. The two brothers looked at each other and saw the pain in each other's eyes. "Miss, don't leave yet. Didn't we have a good discussion just now? Why did you leave just like that?" Zhao Tianji hurriedly rushed over and said with a smile, "I see that you are a kind person. Since one met you today, one will suffer a little loss. For 1,000 spirit stones is considered a deal." The woman snorted and walked to the counter. "I've already told you so many times. The current price of the heavenly yuan pill is this. It won't be expensive no matter where you go. If you don't believe me, you can go to other places and ask." "Little girl, we all believe you. Why are you still saying so much? One wonder if little girl has time after work today. Maybe we can find a place to drink a cup of spiritual tea." As the woman wrote the receipt, she raised her head and glanced at Zhao Tianji. She raised her chin and said in the direction the man left, "Since you have so much time, why don't you find a place to have a good chat with your partner?" "Little girl, what are you talking about? I don't know him at all. We just met here for the first time. Can't you tell? Why do you think we know each other?" The little girl immediately raised a hand and blocked the two of them. "Don't tell me this. You know very well what you're doing. One don't care, but don't harass me." Zhao Tianji walked out of the 1,000 Treasures trade fair with a gloomy expression. When he walked into a small alley at the side, he immediately could not help but start cursing. "I said it's the heavenly restoration pill. It was still a scarce item a few days ago, and I was thinking of getting it to make a fortune. How did it become an unimportant thing today? This time, it's a waste of time. I only earned 1,000 spirit stones." Zhao Tianji said unhappily, "It's already good enough that we didn't lose money. We're really unlucky. The people from the 1,000 Treasures Trading Company are really ridiculous. How can they do this? Ever since they came here, the price of these materials has plummeted. Those originally very valuable things have been made worthless by them. Now, I feel that this business is not good anymore." The two of them complained as they walked. Today's days were indeed much more difficult than before. The 1,000 Treasures trade fair was really a strange place. Zhao Tianji raised his head and saw a sign. The sign had the picture of the heavenly yuan pill on it, and the slogan on it really gave him a headache. "High-quality heavenly yuan pills are on sale at the 1,000 Treasures Chamber of Commerce." Looking at the price tag, Zhao Tianji was even a little glad that he had made his move early enough. Some of the ordinary heaven rank restoration pills on his list were only sold for 15,000 yuan each. It had to be known that heaven rank restoration pills of ordinary quality were very rare in the past. One would cost at least 30,000 yuan. This had immediately dropped by half. This price gap was too much. What the hell were they doing? In addition to the enviable slogan above, there was a row of words below saying that the headquarters building of the 1,000 Treasures Chamber of Commerce was holding a grand tasting event, inviting people with lofty aspirations from all walks of life to attend. They would also have the opportunity to participate in the study of alchemy and refining. "Old Zhao, look at this. It says that it's free to learn alchemy and refining techniques. Is it true? What kind of kindness is this Zhao Tian showing? Is he burning up too much money? If it really doesn't work, I can spend it on his behalf." Zhao Tianji scoffed at this kind of thing. "Is it our turn? In the end, they're still going to cheat us of the spirit stones in our pockets. You'd better take good care of yourself and stop thinking about those good things. But it's clearly written below that it's free. It shouldn't be fake, right? I think the two of us can go and take a look. Maybe we can get some benefits. You know how much money they have. What benefits do you want? They are selling heavenly yuan pills everywhere now. If we can find his heavenly yuan pill warehouse and steal the things from it, we will make a big profit. You're so bold. You even dare to have designs on the 1,000 Treasures Trade Association. Have you forgotten Zhao Tian's methods? Do you know what he used to do? He used to be a proper guard captain. If the two of us are caught, we'll only die. Old Zhao, why have you become so timid? You weren't like this in the past. Don't give me that. Don't even think about it." Although Zhao Tianji said that, his gaze ultimately landed on the row of small words below. Would the 1,000 Treasures trade fair really give them such an opportunity to learn alchemy for free? Alchemy was such a precious thing. Would they hand it over so casually? Zhao Tianji wasn't confident. Regarding Zhao Tian and the others, Zhao Tianji had only heard comments from various friends. In any case, these people were greedy vipers. They went around collecting money and were greedy. They would not do anything good anyway. There was nothing good to evaluate these people. They only knew that they were a group of malignant tumors. The headquarters of the Thousand Treasures Trading Company was located in the center of Ping City. This was originally the City Lord's mansion, but under Hu Juzhou's management, the entire City Lord's mansion moved outwards, leaving the central area to these trading companies. Hu Juzhou felt that there was no need for the City Lord's mansion to be in the middle. Instead, after giving up the central area, the overall construction would be more prosperous. In the hands of the bosses of these chambers of commerce, the city center of Ping City had become the most prosperous place among the three major cities. Everyone who came to this place could not help but exclaim in admiration and sigh with emotion at being able to witness such a miracle. The big boss, who was in the center of all this, was currently facing a young man. He was smiling very happily and looked like he was trying to curry favor with this person. "Young master, I haven't seen you for a long time. You should at least stay for a while longer when you come back this time." It hasn't been long, but the entire Ping City has already changed so much. If it's been a while longer, I'm afraid you won't be able to find our Chamber of Commerce when you return. Zhao Tian was a famous big shot in Pingcheng. Wherever he appeared, he would be surrounded by a group of people. But today, in front of this young man, she was as docile as a child. This scene was really incomprehensible. Li Yuanqing stood in the spacious living room and looked down. He had a panoramic view of the entire Pingcheng. The scenery in this place was really good. Zhao Tian really knew how to enjoy himself. He had built such a comfortable office. "Young master, I have already released the news according to your request. However, if you want to establish such a large-scale academy, I'm afraid it will take some time." After Li Yuanqing returned this time, he had sent a message before he even met him. He briefly explained his intentions. In general, he wanted to establish a large-scale academy. In this academy, there were all kinds of learning programs including, but not limited to, alchemy, refining, and even array masters. This was a very, very huge project. One had to know that even for an existence like the 100 Treasures Pavilion, it would cost a huge amount of resources to cultivate a few more powerful armament masters. It was a one-way project. If they really built a huge school like Li Yuanqing had envisioned and then recruited disciples, how many resources would they need to support it? With their current financial resources, could they support such a plan? This was still a very suspicious matter. However, since it was Li Yuanqing's plan, Zhao Tian immediately followed Li Yuanqing's instructions and assigned tasks to them. Now, each branch venue was advertising. From yesterday until now, everyone in Pingcheng had received this news. Everyone knew that the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair was going to establish a large-scale academy and accept anyone to register. However, many people still had doubts in their hearts and did not trust this matter. Li Yuanqing looked at the people walking on the street. It was much better than Sea City Base. He hadn't been to Chengdu for a while. He heard that Chengdu was under strict management. It was like a military base, and no one was allowed to enter or leave. This did not sound like good news, but he hoped that it would change. What Li Yuanqing hoped to see was that the three cities would prosper after they were controlled by the human race. Although his arrival here was only a coincidence, he still hoped that through his own efforts, he could improve the living conditions of the human race in the catacombs world. It would not be like before. "How's the design going?" Zhao Tian had always been the one introducing this aspect. Now that Li Yuanqing finally spoke, Zhao Tian ran to the back in a panic and took a blueprint. "Child, please look over first. This is the preliminary sketch. Today earlier. I heard that child is coming over. Please urge the designer to do it earlier. This is the design. Please look over first. If not satisfied, this is again. Let him go." This map was 4 to 5 meters wide, and it was filled with all kinds of details. Just a glance at it made one's scalp go numb. What was drawn on it was a huge circular building complex. The outer walls formed a circle, enveloping the entire academy. There was a large opening in every direction. Their doors were very wide, showing the open nature of the academy as a whole. There were 9 different areas in the middle of the wall, and each area was marked with a pending symbol. Li Yuanqing had only provided a rough requirement and had not completely set the overall idea, so these areas were still empty. The overall structure was already very mature, and the specific details needed more improvement. Very good. Let's do this for now. After the design is completed, bring it over for me to take a look. Young master, this is not bad, right? Although this kid is young, he has a lot of ideas. Young master, when you handed this matter over, the first thing I thought of was this kid. I directly conveyed young master's intention to him. Is that so? He looks like a designer worth nurturing. It's good that young master likes it. One will pass on young master's intentions to him. I believe he will be very happy. Zhao Tian smiled and put the blueprint away again. Li Yuanqing's gaze fell on a branch of the Thousand Treasures Trading Company. There were quite a number of people coming and going there. Overall, it was not bad. I wonder how the heavenly yuan pills are selling? Zhao Tian ran to the back and took another list. He presented it to Li Yuanqing with both hands. Young master, look, ever since the price of the heavenly yuan pill dropped, the sales volume has immediately increased. Now, the overall sales volume is more than twice as high as before. Only twice? Zhao Tian hurriedly said, one don't think we should rush this matter. If we rush it, it will easily cause the opposite effect. If we sell too much at once, I'm afraid the entire market will be chaotic. The current situation should be quite good. What do you think? Li Yuanqing retreated from the long and narrow glass window and walked to the table behind him. He picked up the top-grade spiritual tea on the table and took a sip. Zhao Tian took out a jade pendant and injected some spiritual power into it. A map immediately appeared in the office. The map was a three-dimensional map that showed the situation of the buildings on the entire floor. It covered all the areas in Pingcheng. Currently, there are more than 100 shops of all sizes in Pingcheng. Among them, there are 5 top-notch shops. The other 3 shops may be slightly inferior to our 2 shops, but they are still somewhat capable. If we sell all those heavenly yuan pills at once, it will easily cause the small shops behind to collapse. This will make the underground black market even more rampant.
Li Yuanqing nudda casuali.
He knew more about these things than he did, so it was not wrong to let him handle all of them. After all, Zhao Tian had been operating here for such a long time. He knew enough about the situation in Pingcheng. Since that's the case, let's take it one step at a time. After the academy is established, the price of medicinal pills in Ping City will naturally drop. There's no hurry. Zhao Tian looked at Li Yuanqing gratefully. The young master had so many treasures on him, but all he could think about was how to help the people in Pingcheng improve their overall strength. He even took out such expensive pills and lowered the price to sell them. What kind of spirit was this? Young master probably didn't care about those spiritual stones anymore. Moreover, Zhao Tian was getting more and more confused about Li Yuanqing's strength. Young master, how should we conduct the selection? If we want to open a school, we naturally need a proper selection mechanism. I think the rules should be set by young master. I've already made the arrangements. The first round of screening will be held in the dense forest in the south of Ping City in 3 days. 3 days later? Wasn't this a little too tight? Although it was a little rushed, it still has a very good selection effect. Tomorrow, you should announce this news. Don't let them feel that it's too sudden. All right, I'll announce this matter tomorrow. When Zhao Tian noted down everything and looked up again, Li Yuanqing had already disappeared. He didn't know when young master had left. Zhao Tian shook his head helplessly. Young master was a mysterious person. It was really rare to meet him. He had only stayed here for 10 minutes. In the Thousand Treasures Trading Company's headquarters, a young man walked over to the registration desk with a calm expression. Behind him, Zhao Tianji and the other 2 silently followed. Fellow Taoist. Zhao Tianji suddenly jogged 2 steps to catch up. He panted lightly and shouted at Li Yuanqing. Li Yuanqing stopped in his tracks in surprise and turned around to look at the 2 of them. Fellow Taoist, the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair is organizing a cultivation college. Are you interested in signing up? If there was a chance, he would be able to learn alchemy. Li Yuanqing turned around and sized up the young man behind him. He smiled very happily and looked at Li Yuanqing as he continued to ask, "This young master. One look and you can tell that he's from a wealthy family. Now that there's such a good opportunity to learn alchemy, it's much better than working hard on your own. I'm afraid you can still save quite a lot of expenses." Li Yuanqing turned to look at the sign beside him. It's indeed a very good opportunity. I heard that Boss Zhao of the Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce is very good. He shouldn't be lying. Why don't you give it a try? Zhao Tianji smiled very officially. He said, Young master, can you tell? I'm a member of the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair. My boss assigned me a mission. I'm here to recommend it to all the young masters who pass by. You can't miss such a good opportunity. Li Yuanqing's interest was immediately piqued. He had not heard Zhao Tian mention anything about recommendations. According to Zhao Tian, he only arranged for some promotional brands and did not do anything else. Because Li Yuanqing had once instructed them to keep everything simple and not make it too troublesome. Therefore, Zhao Tian followed the simplest method. Why did a salesman suddenly appear? Li Yuanqing looked at this so-called salesman with interest. That's why Boss Zhao sent you guys, people like me, to explain the benefits of this academy, right? This young master is obviously a smart person. He understood everything with just a few words. That's right, that's the situation. In fact, many people don't know much about this kind of cultivation college. This concept is also a very novel concept. It only came out recently. Then one wonder if you can tell me the profundity of this? Zhao Tianji's eyes flickered slightly, and a very strange smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He had finally tricked his first prey. My job is to explain the mysteries of these things to everyone. I am naturally willing to tell you these things. However, it is not too convenient here. Moreover, if one want to talk about these things, I'm afraid it will be a little too cumbersome. I'd better ask young master to follow me to a more secluded place and discuss it properly. Li Yuanqing followed him without hesitation, acting like a defenseless little white rabbit. This made Zhao Tianji feel very proud. He had just thought of a way to earn money, but he had succeeded very quickly. It was really not bad. In that case, I'll have to trouble this young master. That's fine, that's fine. These are all my work, and it's not much trouble. I want to thank you for your support. Otherwise, I wouldn't have opened for business today. Zhao Tianji's words were true. He slowly turned around and led Li Yuanqing into a small alley. The two of them turned left and right in this alley for a long time, and finally came to a quiet place that was relatively far from the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair. This was a small courtyard. From the outside, it didn't look special and was very quiet. The overall style of the building was also very old. It seemed to have a period of history. The decorations in the small courtyard were also very normal. The only thing that could be associated with the image they described was the small and exquisite sign hanging at the door. The sign said, Myriad Treasures Trade Fair Academy's reception office. The sign looked very simple and crude. There was no design at all. It was just casually placed there as if it was made for people to see. Li Yuanqing didn't seem to see the mystery behind it and followed him in foolishly. Zhao Tianji heaved a deep sigh of relief. He had originally thought that third brother was too careless. With such a simple sign, he could easily be seen through by others. However, he did not expect this young master in front of him to not seem to be particularly smart. Their flaws were already so obvious, but there was actually no reaction at all. Zhao Tianji even had some doubts as to whether this fellow in front of him would be able to get anything out of it. How did such a foolish person survive in the catacombs world? It didn't seem to be particularly safe. Although Li Yuanqing looked so glamorous, it was hard to guarantee that there was nothing to squeeze out of him. In the end, the two of them walked into the small courtyard smoothly. In this courtyard, there was a very simple table. However, the overall design of this table was much better than that of the children outside. At least, there were no obvious flaws at a glance. It could be seen that it seemed to have been carefully made. A lean man was sitting behind the table. He was reading a document leisurely. When he raised his head and saw the two of them walk in, the man stood up slightly and welcomed them. Today's harvest is not bad. We actually found a student. Then we should be able to call it a day. Third brother smiled and greeted Zhao Tianji, but Zhao Tianji did not give him a good look. After glaring at him, he stood to the side and gave him the stage. Number 3 coughed lightly and shot him a look. His gaze seemed to be saying, although my thing is very simple and crude, and you look down on it, didn't I still trick a living person into coming in? There will be a good show for you later. After a simple exchange, Li Yuanqing had already sat down at the table in front of him very cooperatively. He was really like a little rabbit who had not experienced the world. Third brother turned around and landed in front of the table. He sized up Li Yuanqing and coughed lightly before saying, "Wonder what young master is interested in? Alchemy, artifact refining, or array formation. Our Thousand Treasures Trade Fairs College has courses, and the price is very reasonable. You only need 1,000 spirit stones to get the first place. You have to know that this spot is very precious, so you can't delay it." This third brother was quite anxious and immediately said the price. Zhao Tianji, who was at the side, coughed lightly and glared at him. He smiled and explained to Li Yuanqing, "Young master, you don't have to worry. You can listen to him explain the details to you before making a decision. In fact, our price is very reasonable. It was just the price of one set of materials." Third brother immediately added, "Don't say any more. What kind of material can be sold so cheaply in this world? You can't buy a 1,000-year-old dragon tongue flower with 1,000 spirit stones." Li Yuanqing acted as if he didn't know anything. He looked at the two of them and asked, "Then what does 1,000 spirit stones contain? If it's all included, then I think it's quite cost-effective and might be worth signing up for. However, if there are other charges later, then I'll have to think about it again." Third brother came up and hugged Li Yuanqing's shoulder. He patted Li Yuanqing's chest and promised, "Brother, don't you trust me? 1,000 spirit stones is already so much money. I definitely won't ask you for more in the future. Just rest assured. 1. Your elder brother will guarantee that I won't charge you a single cent more." Li Yuanqing let out a long sigh of relief and smiled. "I've always wanted to become an alchemist, but one haven't had any good opportunities. If one can really become an alchemist, then I'm willing to sign up now." "Of course you can. As long as you come to our academy, everything will be guaranteed to be successful. There will definitely be no failure. Let me tell you this. As long as you put the spirit stones here, you will be an outstanding alchemy grandmaster in a year." Third brother's guarantee was so solemn that he almost used his own character as a guarantee. If it wasn't for the limited time, he would probably have said a long string of lies. Li Yuanqing took out a money bag without hesitation. There was nothing in the money bag, but it was only for him. There were hundreds of thousands of spirit stones in it, and there were many rare materials. No matter where these materials were placed, they were all rare things. He pretended to be surprised and took out a 10,000-year-old snow ginseng. He even put on an awkward smile in front of the two of them and said, "Wait a minute, I forgot where I put the spirit stones." The two brothers looked at the snow ginseng in his hand and were dumbfounded. They had never seen such a rich person before. This kid must have run out of the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair. This kind of wealth was almost like the eldest son of the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair. This was too terrifying. "Little brother, it's okay. You don't have to be anxious. The two of us will wait here. Thank you very much." Li Yuanqing searched for a long time and finally found a box. He opened the box and found an extremely high-quality mid-tier spirit stone. The spirit stone emitted a bright light that continuously scattered around, as if it was showing off its innate, unique beauty. Zhao Tianji and third brother had been cheating for so long. When had they ever seen such a treasure? Now that a bright middle-grade spirit stone was placed in front of them, the two of them were simply anxious as if 100 claws were scratching their hearts. If he could just snatch it over and take it for himself, how good would that be? Third brother could not help but extend a palm. Unknowingly, that palm had arrived in front of Li Yuanqing. From the looks of it, he was about to grab it. Li Yuanqing looked up at the two of them in embarrassment and asked, "Don't have 1,000 spirit stones on hand. I only have this middle-grade spirit stone. I wonder if you can help me exchange it." Third brother could no longer hold back his impulse. He took the spirit stone and said hurriedly, "Little brother, you're treating me as an outsider. What's the relationship between us? If you have such a need, 1 foot 11 inches definitely help you. Besides, I have plenty of spirit stones. Wait a moment, I'll find Zhao Ling for you." He stuffed the middle-grade spirit stone into his arms and did not dare to let go no matter what. He had obtained a huge treasure, so he definitely had to keep it warm in his arms. He definitely could not let it out for no reason. Zhao Tianji glared at her and wanted to snatch the spirit stone away, but third brother was unmoved. He firmly covered his chest, leaving him no chance to take advantage of it. While the two of them were arguing, Li Yuanqing was watching from the side. It was quite interesting to see the two of them arguing and struggling with each other. After they argued for a while, third brother suddenly patted his head as if he had thought of something extraordinary. He turned to Li Yuanqing and said, "Little brother, one just remembered that our academy has a very powerful VIP service. As long as you add a little more tuition, you will be able to enjoy the best hospitality and learn the best knowledge. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. Is that so? How much do you need?" Third brother glanced at Zhao Tianji beside him and replied, "Don't quite remember the exact situation. We need to ask the headquarters to see how the price is set. When the two of us are clear, we'll come back and tell you." "It's okay. You guys go ahead. I'll wait here." "Little brother, thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. If it weren't for you, I don't know where we would have been able to complete today's mission." After they finished their instructions, they entered a small room one after another. After entering, they closed the door of the room as if they were afraid that others would hear their conversation inside. "What a good opportunity. As long as we kill this brat, no one will find out that we did it. At that time, such a perfect middle-grade spirit stone will be divided equally between the two of us. Don't you want it?" Third brother's eyes revealed a fierce expression as he looked at Zhao Tianji and suggested. Zhao Tianji grabbed his hand and glared at him. "Are you crazy? We're using the name of the Thousand Treasures Trading Company to swindle people here, and you still dare to kill people. If the people from the Thousand Treasures Trading Company find out about it later, the two of us won't be able to bear the consequences." Number 3 flung his hand away and glared at him coldly. "What time is it already? You're still thinking about those things. At most, we'll kill them and run away forever. No one will know that it was the two of us. A middle-grade spirit stone. Have you forgotten how much you need it now? With it, you can buy that material back and go up to the next level. Do you still need to live here in fear?" Zhao Nati was Sini, that Saitiep San Tu and Tridot Apnal. In their original plan, they would take this opportunity to use the name of the Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce to swindle some spirit stones and earn some extra money. However, this sudden situation was really unexpected. There was suddenly such a fool. If they did not seize this opportunity, this fool's money would definitely fall into the hands of others. DNA Tom's Naira, Myopt Heitsai Kid and Inftro of USI Odosi. Here ACTN Woyes Howumk Mayon Ehas? I saw it. I saw it all. Zhao Tianji gritted his teeth and stared outside. He couldn't see anything here, but he had also seen with his own eyes that Li Yuanqing had taken out so many materials. Those were all treasures that were 1 in 10,000. If they could snatch those things, they would no longer have to swindle here and could do some serious business. Sa lon as a hiked site dick and I front foh. Mti udlubitat spill. Me as nol as a lilek sidict and tonnerf of high. He udalave vying rihi dda. Eta tot tm. I.e. Yenvierg would eb paterkf DNA he woodle on neor have to eb dot affared. Have you thought about it? Just this once. Just this once. Just this once. The third brother urged him over and over again, making Zhao Tianji very anxious. He felt that what the third brother said was very reasonable. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. As long as they grasped this opportunity, they would be rich and powerful. Aurakta rihu this sikthingis meek orim? F and NEEC. As now taught yet rewin there, hands at your theer Saratru. Outside the window, the corners of Li Yuanqing's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a smile. He was waiting for these two kids to make a decision. Not long after, the door of the small room opened. Third brother ran out excitedly and hugged Li Yuanqing. Yagnu ts, Armea woy ar lilia ui.lkc1v yalard egon cab DNA kst, Gita now, woy ilnode ni ot pea egldredium, serpine stio to able ot inuik ila eth tofotian iak tegnurkvid. S's you don't vot yap ina oemer eves DNA you nac ombek hd pod all set me on ishtik doenton. Really? It sounds very cost-effective. Of course it's true. You're my biological brother. When have you ever seen me lie to you? The two of us are simply like brothers. Moreover, I've already helped you fight for it. Il Ucky Inadlime's DNA node. He looked to HDWDO of Etem Flia DNA is THD, AAG RT. AE1 some become HD most plural area master on ST company Nifin. Brother, you're too polite to tell us this. One should be the one thanking you. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have opened today. However, we still have a final step to register and confirm. Li Yuanqing followed third brother into the house in a daze. This slamasuio duza wef spirit sensidothta on gloner had prisla woper ot put pu siamhect tot daredept ot eb and trilla. In fact, Li Yuanqing could tell at a glance that these things were all decorations. They were all fake and had no use at all. They were purely used to fool people. However, Li Yuanqing still pretended not to know anything. Little boat. RRHSA null SA woi stand no stmo. Afitrancianom lil ascum so ikasnust on 8 redot. End nizear hultuult. Fu and EW will play you genra, t.I. Third brother patted Li Yuanqing's back.
Zau tianji sudan li gravad Li Yuanqing jurist.
Young master, what do you want? Li Jiuknian rundet nu. Dora his esi riu verd. Nelk he hid all his tuosht, so that 8-2 them could tun es and ganti. Zhao Tianji wanted to stop him very much. He was really worried about the two of them. He just wanted to do business. If he really killed someone, would the people of the Thousand Treasures Trading Company forgive them and let them go? Third brother suddenly pulled Zhao Tianji's hand away and said with a smile, "Don't worry. He just wants to give you a few last words. You have to answer seriously later. Although we can help you arrange it, you have to be more serious yourself."
Des tons rouir IW ya sa point ini NGT.
As Li Yuanqing spoke, he stood on the altar and looked at the two of them. Third brother waved at Li Yuanqing and said, "Little brother, you can only see people if you face that side. The two of us won't talk to you after the start. You have to work hard." Li Ji. Li Yuanqing was very cooperative. He turned around and faced the wall. A pitch-black dagger appeared in third brother's hand. This dagger was still flickering with a ghastly light. It was actually covered in a special poison. He wiles Deline Ratso Li Ikna New York FL Ties Edel were to Slaz NWO, DIL Nakiy, Sti Cry Yannick Stursam Life Udlu Ababarit Bisat, LE, Power of all the Teriuser on Sith Dick Dielegn OTHD OTWH. Turbersotai Idu Tun be able OTern so main cert Nost Env if Hedid Korard for Thrayurteni I Vils. Third brother seemed to have already seen his perfect life. He increased the strength in his hands. As long as he slashed down, everything would be in his hands. However, just as he was about to make his move, Zhao Tianji suddenly grabbed his wrist and prevented his saber from falling. The third brother glared at Zhao Tianji angrily and wanted to shake Zhao Tianji's hand off, but Zhao Tianji refused to let go no matter what. His eyes were also very firm, and it seemed that he was determined to stop him. Li Yuanqing seemed to have heard the commotion behind him and turned around to look behind him. The two of them hurriedly put down their hands to protect themselves, not letting Li Yuanqing see the dagger in their hands. "What's wrong? What happened? Why don't I see anyone?" Third brother smiled and comforted him. "Little brother, why are you in such a hurry? The examiner over there isn't ready yet. Wait for them to prepare a little. When they are ready, this array will be activated. All right, 1 foot 11 inches, wait a little longer." As Li Yuanqing spoke, he was about to turn around. However, at this moment, Zhao Tianji suddenly pulled Li Yuanqing from the altar to his side. "Little brother, you're really unlucky today. The people over there are busy interviewing with other people. I'm afraid you'll have to wait until tomorrow. They're quite busy with work. Why don't you go back today and wait for our news tomorrow?" Li Yuanqing was stunned. He glanced at Zhao Tianji and asked curiously, "Why didn't you do it?" Zhao Tianji had originally planned to resolve the problem between him and number 3 after Li Yuanqing had sent him away. He did not react in time to Li Yuanqing's intention in asking this question. He turned his head and stared at Li Yuanqing. After thinking for a while, he suddenly felt that it was getting stranger. "Little brother, what do you mean by that?" Li Yuanqing looked at him and said, "If you hadn't stopped him just now, wouldn't one have died? Why didn't you let him do it?" "What nonsense are you talking about? This is a place for proper enrollment. Why should I kill you?" Zhao Tianji pushed Li Yuanqing away. Number 3 saw that the matter had been exposed and could no longer hide it. He directly took out the dagger and stabbed it at Li Yuanqing. "Why are you wasting your time with him? This kid has already discovered us. If we let this kid go, the two of us won't be able to bear the consequences. As third brother spoke, he had already arrived in front of Li Yuanqing. That poisonous short knife was also very accurately stabbed towards Li Yuanqing's heart. That place was so close to his heart. As long as he scratched his skin, the poison would immediately invade his heart. Li Yuanqing would not be able to hold on for long before he immediately fell to the ground. The third brother was very confident in his dagger. He had already used this thing to deal with countless enemies. There were many fierce enemies among them, but no one could survive in front of his short knife. Those people really turned into dry bones. The only one who could survive was him, the ruthless third brother. But this time, he was disappointed. The third brother watched as his dagger stabbed deeply into Li Yuanqing's heart. Li Yuanqing also revealed a shocked expression, as if he had never expected that he would die here. The third brother thought that he had already won and won everything. However, just as he was about to celebrate, he felt a sudden chill in his chest. He looked at the black dagger stuck in his chest and felt a little familiar, but it was also so unfamiliar. He had never observed his dagger from this angle before. Why did this dagger look so strange? This thought flashed through third brother's mind. He reached out to pull the dagger out, but he had already lost all his strength. He no longer had the strength to hold the dagger in his hand, and his body gradually went limp. Zhao Tianji watched his brother commit suicide in front of him, and a look of horror flashed across his eyes. He did not know how Li Yuanqing did it. Who exactly are you? Zhao Tianji took out a long knife and placed it beside him. He took a step back and retreated to the corner of the room, trying to put as much distance between him and Li Yuanqing as possible. Li Yuanqing looked at Zhao Tianji coldly. You are very smart. Who exactly are you? I have no enmity with you. We brothers have never provoked you. Why did you kill him? Have you never provoked them? Li Yuanqing casually raised his hand, and the small black dagger slowly floated in the air. The blood in third brother's chest had already coagulated. The blood in his body had been corroded by the venom of the black dagger and turned into a solid existence, as sticky as black oil. Cold sweat trickled down Zhao Tianji's forehead like rain. He tried his best to find an excuse to excuse himself, but he realized that he could not find any way to quibble. There was only one way to go now, and that was to escape as soon as possible. Little brother, I showed mercy just now. One shouldn't have wanted to kill you. I will never be Mount Tai. One have offended you, sir. Please let me live. One will never appear in front of you again. Zhao Tianji was keenly aware of the dangerous situation he was in. He could only ask for Li Yuanqing's forgiveness or use this to give himself a chance to escape. Li Yuanqing walked toward Zhao Tianji step by step. His footsteps felt as if he was stepping on Zhao Tianji's chest, so heavy. Senior, I know my mistake. Senior, please give me another chance. I will never be Mount Tai. I didn't know that you had such skills. One shouldn't have thought of framing you. Zhao Tianji helplessly begged for mercy, but it did not slow Li Yuanqing down at all. The black dagger slowly floated over and floated in front of Li Yuanqing. You want to live? Li Yuanqing's question was very light, but it was also very heavy. Zhao Tianji knelt on the ground without hesitation and kowtowed to Li Yuanqing. Senior, please let me live. My life is like an ant, and it's usually useless to you. If you let me go, I'll definitely remember Senior's kindness and work for Senior. Be a cow or a horse. Li Yuanqing recalled this sentence. If Senior needs it, Junior is willing to do anything. Li Yuanqing nodded lightly and raised Zhao Tianji's face to carefully examine it for a while. You were the one who came up with the idea to use the Thousand Treasures Trade Fairs Academy to swindle people. Senior, please spare me. Junior only wants to find a way to survive and earn a living. I don't think that I have any intention of offending you. Junior has absolute longing for the Thousand Treasures Trading Company. That's why I came up with this plan. Oh, you mean you really want to work in the Thousand Treasures Chamber of Commerce? Even Zhao Tianji couldn't be dealt with by Li Yuanqing. This Li Yuanqing held the power of life and death in his hands and could kill him anytime and anywhere. Why would he suddenly say such a sentence? Could it be that this Senior would let such an enemy like him live? If Senior can give me a chance, I'm naturally willing to do my best at the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair. Zhao Tianji looked up at Li Yuanqing. not even daring to breathe loudly. Although you have evil intentions, your brain is quite smart. If you hadn't stopped him just now, I'm afraid you would be 2 corpses now. However, I think you still have room for guidance. Senior. Zhao Tianji immediately fell to the ground and kowtowed 10 times. This was what it meant to have survived a disaster. He had never experienced such a terrifying thing in his life. He had never seen such a powerful senior before. He didn't even know how his 3rd brother died. His 3rd brother had already turned into a pool of blood. Now that he was able to survive, he would talk about the future. Thank you for your love, Senior. All right, go to the 1,000 Treasures Chamber of Commerce tomorrow and look for Zhao Tian. He will tell you what to do. This is an opportunity for you, and also a challenge. Do you know who that person is? We still want to cooperate with him. In his hands, the 2 of us don't even have any room to resist. We still have time to run. If we really stay, we'll be waiting for death. This was a very secluded small courtyard located in a very remote corner of Ping City. This was the residence of Zhao Tianji and Little Li. Little Li was another friend of theirs. Now that 3rd brother had been killed by Li Yuanqing, he was the only good friend Zhao Tianji had left. 3rd brother has already been killed by him. Why do you still think that he will spare your life? He just wants to uproot us. You have to think carefully. Do you know what kind of people they are? How can you believe them just like that? This is ridiculous. These brothers did some sneaky things every day, so they didn't want their residence to be too conspicuous. This secluded small courtyard just met their requirements, and it was originally a place where no one lived. The original owner of this place must have made a fortune and moved away early, leaving this small courtyard behind. Later, Zhao Tianji and Little Li took it for themselves. There was a pile of things in front of the 2 of them. It was all their belongings. Originally, they were doing things like stealing chickens and touching dogs, so they didn't really care about anything. Although there was a pile of things in front of him, most of them were useless. They were just placed there for show. Did you hear that? If you don't want to leave, then I'll leave first. That guy is too ridiculous. It's impossible for me to follow his instructions and report. If one go there, I'm afraid I'll die. Shaoli sat at the side. He had already made up his mind to escape. He would choose tonight. At night, when others were less focused, they would sneak away. This was the best time. If he left early, he would be controlled by Li Yuanqing forever. Who would be able to take it? Just look at Li Yuanqing. He was not someone to be trifled with. If he landed in his hands, there would be no good consequences. Zhao Tianji frowned. He had not said anything about his brother's plan for a long time. No one knew what he was thinking. Shaoli looked at it for a while and felt bored. He snorted coldly and said, "If you want to die, then you can stay here. Anyway, one can't stay here. Just don't rat me out. It's time for us brothers to separate." Shaoli was about to leave when Zhao Tianji suddenly pulled him back. "What are you doing? Do you want me to stay too? Are you really happy to work for Zhao Tian for the rest of your life? Do you know how much free labor Zhao Tian has hired? Otherwise, how could he have the wealth and status he had today?" There were many legends about Zhao Tian circulating in the martial arts world, and there were many different versions of the very mysterious ones. One of the versions was that Zhao Tian had secretly taken in many people when the Pingxing people moved in on a large scale. Then, he locked them up and treated them as free labor. It was also because of this free labor that Zhao Tian had his current status. Although the term wealth was very nonsensical and sounded fake, many believers believed it. There were also many people who often went to the city lord's mansion to secretly report, but they did not know how special the relationship between Zhao Tian and the city lord's mansion was. Their small reports were of no use at all. Do you really think you can escape? Zhao Tianji leaned against the table and looked at Shaoli silently. Shaoli paced back and forth in the room. After walking around for a while, he stopped in front of Zhao Tianji. Even if one can't escape, one have to try. I can't sit here and wait for them to come and kill me. I think this is a very good opportunity. For us, it's a unique opportunity. You're crazy. Shaoli looked at Zhao Tianji in disbelief. Although Zhao Tianji was very worried in the past, at least he still had a little bit of rationality. However, Zhao Tianji seemed to have been possessed. He did not know what kind of medicine that so-called senior had fed him to make him look like this. If this continued, the only thing waiting for him was death. Anyway, I've never seen that guy. I don't know him either. He won't know me. As long as you don't tell anyone about me, nothing will happen to me. Just treat it as helping a brother and let me go, okay? Xiao Li had already cursed 10,000 times in his heart. He said that he was a good brother, but now that he had encountered such an unlucky thing, he had dragged him down immediately. This brother was really too unkind. Zhao Tianji shook his head helplessly and looked at Xiao Li. It's already too late to say all this. I've already told that senior about you. He knows that you're here and said that he welcomes you to join us. Below the Wanbao Chamber of Commerce, two young men looked up at the tall building uneasily. Everyone knew about the building of the Thousand Treasures Trade Fair, and they were also very clear about what they were facing now. However, it was the first time they were invited in this way. Moreover, the two of them were not in a very ideal situation. They might not be able to come out once they entered.